Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs are sending shockwaves across the world. But what does this mean for Africa? As the United States escalates its trade war with China, Mexico, and Canada, the impact extends far beyond these regions. Africa, a continent with deep economic ties to global markets, now finds itself in the crosshairs of an economic storm that could reshape its future. Will Africa emerge as an unintended beneficiary, filling the trade gaps left by U.S.-China tensions? Or will the ripple effects of higher tariffs push already fragile economies toward crisis? Let's break it down. Africa's trade relationship with the U.S. and China. To understand the impact of Trump's tariffs on Africa, we first need to look at the continent's economic ties to both the United States and China. Historically, the U.S. has been a significant trade partner for Africa, with the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, providing preferential trade benefits to African nations. This has allowed African industries, particularly in textiles, agriculture, and raw materials, to access American markets with minimal restrictions. But China has grown into Africa's largest trading partner. Over the past 2 decades, Chinese investments in Africa have skyrocketed, with infrastructure projects, mining, and manufacturing all deeply intertwined with Beijing's economic ambitions. Africa has become a key supplier of raw materials to fuel China's industries, and in return, China has flooded African markets with affordable goods. Now, with the U.S. imposing tariffs on Chinese goods, trade flows are shifting. China, facing restricted access to American markets, may turn even more aggressively toward Africa to make up for its losses. This could mean increased Chinese investments, but also heightened economic dependence on Beijing, a relationship that many African leaders are already wary of. So what happens to African exports in the wake of Trump's tariffs? For some countries, this could present an opportunity. If Chinese goods become more expensive in the U.S. due to tariffs, American companies might look to Africa for alternatives. African producers of textiles, agricultural goods, and even certain raw materials could step in to fill the void left by Chinese suppliers. This could mean a boost for industries in countries like Ethiopia, Kenya, and Ghana, which have been positioning themselves as emerging manufacturing hubs. However, the downside is just as significant. If the trade war slows down global economic growth, demand for African raw materials could shrink. Many African economies rely on exporting commodities like oil, minerals, and agricultural products. A weakened China, struggling under U.S. tariffs, might reduce its demand for these resources, hurting African economies that depend on them. Additionally, if Trump's trade policies lead to reduced American imports overall, African exporters under AGOA could see declining sales. Countries that rely on shipping goods like apparel, cocoa, and processed agricultural products to the U.S. may find their markets shrinking. Foreign investment and debt. Beyond trade, the tariffs could have broader financial implications for Africa. Foreign direct investment, FDI, is crucial for African development, and uncertainty in global trade often leads to capital flight from emerging markets. If U.S. tariffs create an economic slowdown, investors may pull out of African markets in favor of more stable assets in the West. This could weaken African currencies and lead to rising inflation, putting pressure on economies already burdened by debt. And then there's the issue of loans. Many African nations have taken on massive debt from China under Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative. If China's economy slows due to the trade war, it might tighten its lending policies, making it harder for African countries to access critical infrastructure financing. This could stall major projects, from roads to power plants, and deepen financial vulnerabilities. Trump's tariffs aren't just an economic issue. They're reshaping global alliances. As the U.S. turns inward and focuses on protectionist policies, Africa may find itself forced to pick sides in an increasingly polarized world. China is likely to deepen its economic engagement with Africa, offering even more incentives for trade and investment to counterbalance American tariffs. Meanwhile, the European Union, also impacted by Trump's trade war, may seek to strengthen its ties with Africa as a strategic partner in global trade. But will African nations align more with China, the U.S., or diversify their economic alliances? This is a critical moment for the continent. Some African leaders may see Trump's tariffs as a wake-up call to reduce reliance on external powers and push for stronger intra-African trade, especially with the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, aiming to create a single market across the continent. The effects of Trump's tariffs on Africa are complex and far-reaching. While there are potential benefits in new trade opportunities, the risks of economic instability, reduced investment, and increased reliance on China loom large. Africa stands at a crossroads. The coming months will reveal whether these shifts lead to new opportunities for economic growth or deepen the continent's vulnerability to external shocks. One thing is certain, Africa cannot afford to be a mere spectator in this unfolding trade war. The world is watching. The question is, how will Africa respond? Stay tuned as we continue to track these developments. If you found this analysis insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more global economic breakdowns. Thanks for watching.